opposed to what you're suggesting. I'm always in favor of making our codes better. My concern, having served on the Planning and Zoning Board for a few years, as others on this commission have, is that this is quite a mouthful. It's not the sort of thing that I would want to impose on the Planning and Zoning Board for one meeting. I think it's the sort of thing you all have to, I mean, maybe it can be done, maybe I'm looking at it wrongly, but it seems to me that these things may need more consideration than a quick look or a quick meeting, and it could be a series of meetings. I don't know what it's going to take. I think others are going to have to put together a staff report or something to make this work, but I'm just concerned about trying to expedite it too quickly, and maybe the town attorney has some input on that.
I think what would happen in the course of things, if you decide to allow the Planning and Zoning Board to hold hearings, is that the first item of business will be to develop an ordinance which, if town staff and the applicant can't agree on the language, at least they can't agree on the philosophy, at least they agree upon the language. So if you're going to do something, this is what it should look like. I would then think once that is completed, it would go to the Planning and to be an advertised public meeting in front of the Planning and Zoning Board. Whether that took one or two, I don't know. I share your concern, but hopefully it would be pretty crystallized going forward to the Planning and Zoning Board. If you look at the schedule, I would assume that if the Planning and Zoning Board were amenable, that we would be talking about some meeting early in April, which would, when they finish, it would then go to with their public hearing, it would then go to your workshop. And then, once it completes your workshop, it would go to, assuming you wanted it to, it would go to public hearing thereafter, be 2 public hearings. So you're looking at 3 public hearings to enact any change to your zoning regulations. And how quickly it would happen, I think that's pretty much anyone's guess.
Prepare itself for a build-out that is going to happen, we hope, in the next 2 decades. We, at the first day of the hearings at the Temple, I think that all attorneys agreed, along with Mr. Lenovo, myself, and I think a majority of the commissioners, that not only do the codes have some issues, but also the comp plan. It is, I think it's called problematic by most everyone. I think it is problematic. I've looked at previous ones, all the previous iterations that I could get my hands on, and the one we have now is vague, to be generous. It is very vague, to my point of view. I would like to see us not hurry the process and to have it be politically free, to not have lawyers and Indian chiefs breathing down the code enforcement P&Z's neck, that they be allowed to take time to deliberate and do a really good job, because we have to get ready. This can't be just about one project, whether it be the Key Club or any other project. I think now is the time to pause and to take a serious look at how our codes are put together and to try to see with those patchwork quilts that we've put together over the years, if we can now recast them into a thing that will take us into the next 2 decades and encourage people to do intelligent growth on this island. We need to encourage people to come here. We need to adjust for that, and to just put another Band-Aid on what is already a patchwork quilt, I think would not serve us well. Sooner or later, we're going to have to address this issue, I believe.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask, since counsel for the applicant seems to be the presenter here, and I had written a whole page of comments, which I think I might get to later, but I'm a little troubled by why have we only picked out 14 instances. There are clearly 14 instances where this project either doesn't fit or maybe thought not to fit. And maybe the wildest example I can think of what we're not looking at is, why aren't we looking at the permitted width of piers? I guess it's because you don't have any piers in your project. And that's why I chose that example. But if we're going to look at the zoning code, shouldn't we look at the entire zoning code? We had a case before us just recently. The zoning board, Planning and Zoning Board, has a case before it that deals exactly with that. Mm-hmm. Now, if we're going to tinker with 14 paragraphs, why don't we tinker with all 142? I mean, I just am troubled by why did we pick out to review only those items which are affected by this application, but yet if we change them, we'll affect everybody else on the key other than guys trying to build piers. So I just wanted to state that I'm perplexed.
If I could respond very briefly to that.
Do that.
Well, you're perfectly will, you have the ability to do whatever you want to, Commissioner. I'm not suggesting that you're limited in any way.
I think civility be well served at all times, please. Yes, all sides.
Thank you.
I agree.
I'd like to remind the commission that the ultimate decision is going to be ours. That the opportunity here is to have the town's planning and zoning board look at the points that have been put in contention by the parties, both sides, and to seek their advice and counsel for us. Doesn't mean that we have to agree. It doesn't mean that we have to do anything except listen to what they have done. It seems reasonable to me that we avail ourselves of that board and their talent and their advice. That's all I suggest. I don't think we're committing ourselves to anything beyond that.
George, are we getting out of sequence here? Are we to hear Mr. Patterson and perhaps Mr. Furin or others before we get into our debate?
Yeah, it may be necessary to hear both sides either.
Mr. Furin, Mr. Patterson, are you complete for the moment?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Furin, do you wish to comment?
What's this?